Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for your time today. I'm super excited to be here to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, and that is using data to improve email marketing programs. It's super exciting for me. So, very quickly, not I don't want to overexcite you with information about our company, but OmniSend, just very quickly, we are an email and SMS marketing platform built specifically for e-commerce marketers and e-commerce brands. So my name is Greg Zakwitz. I'm a veteran marketer. I've been in the email space for, it's hard to believe here now, but 15 years I've been doing email marketing. So it's been a long time, and you've seen a lot of things change. We had a bomb drop just a couple days ago with iOS 15 in the fall. So I'll talk a little bit about that today as well. But the focus of today's presentation is using data to find opportunities to increase sales in both email and SMS marketing programs, and how those things really interact with one another and intertwine. I'm going to try to walk through some of that with you today. Chances are you have an email marketing program that is great. Is it at its peak performance? It will never be at its peak performance, but we can find opportunities to implement new messaging that's going to drive sales, preferably automated, and then find ways to iterate what we already have and look for those opportunities to maximize what we are doing. So, now more than ever, I think it's important that we look at the benchmarks, look at the data for what's going on, and we make these changes before the fall comes around. And I'll tell you more about that here in just a moment. So, we've got to identify first these trends that are impacting e-commerce sales, especially in the email and SMS side. So, the one thing I always look at is channels like email, SMS, web push notifications. These are all opt-in channels, and that is a really important point to make. If people don't want them, they don't have to get them. It's not like going to Facebook or Instagram where ads are pushed at you, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, by the way. But we have this opportunity where people are checking emails. They are in this shopping mindset already. So that opt-in channel performance is reflected, right? And it's really important there. So the other thing with opt-in channels is you have the ability to kind of own that data, if you will. You don't really own it, but it's first-party data for you. So whether you want to use that data to push and sync audiences over to Facebook or Google retargeting across their platforms, you have that data, so you can track that stuff and use it to improve your programs. We're going to talk about behavior-based messaging today with automated messages, and this is really where the moneymaker is at for email programs. So how do we find which automated messages are going to convert the best for us, drive the most largest increase in sales, and really can we maximize the value of those particular channels, especially with the behavior-based ones? And why behavior-based is important is they're naturally relevant for you. They're triggered based on something the user does. And then SMS is a growing channel. I'll get into some of those specifics for you as well, but it is a growing channel that consumers across all generational cohorts are adopting. And then the bombshell, which I led to a couple minutes ago, which dropped late last week, is iOS 15 and the pending changes in the fall here, where it's going to take some of your email marketing metrics and it's going to completely change the game. We're not even going to be looking at things like open rates come the fall because they're going to be meaningless. And I'll tell you how that's going to impact you and what we can do today to start preparing for those things. So when we talk about using benchmarks, the data I'm going to look at today, we put out earlier this year a 2020 benchmark report where we looked at 2020 and 2019 email, SMS, and push notification sends. We looked at over 10 billion emails, 31 million SMS and push notifications. So we have a lot of data we're backing here. And you can see from the chart here, automated messages, which is that very top line, just started accelerating. Up and to the right is always what we want to see, right? Up and to the right. So there we are. But you can see the power automated messages have. The bottom two lines, which are your campaigns, these are your messages that you're going to schedule on a random Tuesday or Thursday during the course of the week. And then SMS down there, it doesn't look like they're moving that much, does it? But your bottom two campaigns, so your scheduled messages and SMS messages, conversion rates year over year, converted or improved over 100%. Automated messages, 95%. So you can see the power here, but from a conversion rate standpoint, it's ridiculous how high those conversion rates are across all boards. So here's what we want to do. We want to say, take the data. We're seeing email, opt-in channel, SMS, opt-in channel conversion rates are going up, which means people are looking for those things, right? They're in that shopping mindset. Automation, we're seeing go up even more. So what we can do with already powerful automation is take this data and say, okay, this is where we're going to put the majority of our focus. How do we iterate and squeeze some more juice out of that automation lemon? Now, within the automation, we can break this down a bit further and say, okay, what is our conversion rate across the board? Campaigns, your very top line, 6.5%. That's a great conversion rate, by the way. So email is increasing in performance, just your scheduled messages. But then we look at these individual campaigns and say, okay, welcome message, ridiculous, 52% conversion rates last year. Cart abandonment, we're close to cash. How do we take what we have here and then say, okay, we know these are good. How do ours compare to these? Are we getting there? Are we doing better? Are we doing worse? Well, we were right on par with them. And then how do we iterate what we have to increase it even more? Now, here's the thing with conversion rates. We saw automated messages go up. They convert a lot better. How much impact does it ultimately have on your program? So automated messages last year for OmniSend was about 2%, just under 2% of the total email sends. It was 1.8%, yet it drove 29% of all email generated orders. So if you're thinking about 29% of all orders coming on less than 2% of sends, which are all automated, it's the epitome of increasing sales while not really having that workload there. So we know we're on to something, and then we want to dig a little bit deeper based on just conversion rates and say, okay, how do metrics across the board work on these individual messages? So we can see here is we've got open rates, click rates, conversion rates, and we've got, say, just top down, we've got birthday messages, great open rates here. Okay, but how are conversion rates tracking? Well, conversion rates still better than promotional messages, but they lag behind these other ones. So let's hone in on these ones that are getting good metrics. Let's compare our clicks because ultimately that's what it's about. And right now, when we can capture open rates, we should be capturing open rates to figure out how they are going to apply. Now, I mentioned the iOS 15 update that rolled around. It's coming out in the fall. Ultimately, what they're doing is saying, if you use an Apple Mail product, so an Apple Mail app, you check, they're not going to show open rates anymore. If you don't have open rates, even if it's just a, say, 50% of a segment that is doing that, it makes all other open rates unreliable because you don't know if that open rate is up, down, left, right, where it is. So we're going to be moving to a point where very shortly open rates are going to be meaningless from email marketing. Now, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a great opportunity to focus on making messages that convert much better. But so when we capture these baselines now and say, okay, how are our cart abandonment open rates doing? 30%. We know we're getting a third of the people to open that. Now, how do we get the click rates to here? So this is what we need to look at. High converting, high purpose messages that follow the customer journey. What's the goal with the customer journey? And then how do we optimize? So let's look at this data and say, we've got high converting messages, high click messages. They're behavior based. They are targeted for us. Now, how do we do that and squeeze some juice out of our automated messages and our email program here? So the first thing we should do is look at adding SMS. If you haven't already, if you have it, look at using a little bit more. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I'm going to weave it in with the automation. But SMS is one of these opt-in channels which are increasing in usage. It is here to stay. It's not one of these fly-by-night campaigns or fly-by-night channels. It is the way people are going to be opting into programs here. So if you look at last year, we sent nearly 400% more SMS than we did the year prior. And you can see on the chart to the right there that conversion rates are just continuing to go up. So even though we're increasing the sends, conversion rates are continuing to go up, which shows us consumers are adopting it and they are responding to it. Now, this is where I always go. Where does the rubber meet the road, right? So at busiest time of year, are people going to use SMS to shop? What do I look at? I look at Q4, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, these typically busy seasons for the majority of e-com brands. So Black Friday and Cyber Monday, those 2 days combined in 2020 sent more SMS messages than the entire month of November in 2019. So 2 days, we've seen this huge acceleration, but at a very busy inbox time, retailers were sending these and e-com brands were sending these messages. Now, were consumers shopping from it? And that's the other question. So Black Friday, which was the #1 SMS send day this past year, out of all November orders this past year, Black Friday accounted for 19% of them, which is a huge number. The Sunday before Black Friday, the Cyber 10 periods, the Sunday before Black Friday through the day after, Tuesday after Cyber Monday, Cyber 10, 72% of all SMS orders came through that 10-day span. So yes, consumers are shopping from them. It's a really important thing to talk about because we know when people are responding to emails and people are looking at doing things from a shopping standpoint, they are actively engaging with brands via that channel. So here's the thing. everyone texts. Let's start collecting those mobile numbers now. If you're not ready to use them right now, that is okay. When you're ready to flip it on or ready to test them out, you have the numbers and you don't have to start from ground zero at that point. And if you decide that, hey, you know what, no one is signing up for it, even though we're asking for it, it's your indication that maybe your product or your specific brand or your specific niche, your customers just don't want it. And that's okay. But at least you know at that point. If you see them start to sign up, you know there's interest there, and that is really what's important, is we can identify that interest without having to lift a finger and really do anything. So add SMS opt-ins on the same place you're collecting email addresses, and it's going to set you up. Now, the other thing to look at too is these generational cohorts, and this is often what gets associated with SMS. And this is something I think we need to break down a little bit and say, oh, only younger people use SMS marketing. They only want to get that. Well, you know what? Gen Z, which is this young generation, they are in their low 20s this year. So they're consumers. They've got their own purchasing power and they have a lot of influence power. You have millennials, which are in their young 40s this year. So you've got this huge gap, and that is half your audience already. I'm a Gen Xer. I might not look that old, but I am a Gen Xer. I text all the time. I get a lot of marketing texts, and I do shop from them. And my parents are baby boomers, and they're texting every day. So this is not a generational cohort thing. You might get different purchase habits, but this is here to stay. This is just part of our everyday life. So we want to use this to collect it, use it as a one-off channel, but also enhance those automated messages, which are driving a huge, substantial part of our email marketing program revenue. So we have the SMS. Now we want to optimize the automated messages here. So I'm not going to go through every automated message. I'm going to focus on kind of these customer journeys ones, which ones we implement first, which ones we optimize from there. The whole idea is take those high converting messages, high intent messages, high customer journey, gateway messages, and get those going, and then optimize them and iterate from there. So let's start with a welcome message, because this is really what's going to feed, I always say the legs feed the wolf. This is what's feeding the wolf here. New subscriber comes on, they sign up for your email program, and they get that welcome message. We know it converts. Last year, I mentioned 52% conversion rate. It's ridiculously high. Chances are you may not have 52%. That's okay. I think as long as you're over 20%, you're going to be in really good shape there. But we know it converts. So what we want to do is we want to try to maximize our clicks, especially as we move to this open rate-less world. So how do we maximize our clicks? Well, it's simple content, but I was thinking, think about the customer journey, right? What are customers doing as they sign up for your email program? Well, they are looking to shop, whether it's with you or with someone else. They are looking to shop at that point. And this is really what we want to get to. What messaging can we convey them, discount or no discount, that can get them to shop? So let's think about putting things like top-rated products, testimonials from some of those product reviews, which you're already capturing. Highlight your value adds, return policies. Do you have a satisfaction guarantee? Do you have free shipping? These are things where consumers are looking to shop, maybe with a new brand because it's a welcome message, and they might not be familiar with your brand, that you can convey that purchase, that instill that comfort of purchasing with a new brand here. The other thing we can look at is with that customer journey is to also say, okay, based on how the website's structured, the URLs, you can have different pop-ups that look identical, but one triggers when they are on, say, the men's shoes category. One triggers when they're on the women's swimsuit category. So user doesn't know any difference, but what happens, they submit it and you have that field tagged and you say, okay, this person, Greg, signed up checking out men's shoes. Let's send them a welcome message with top-rated men's shoes, or the welcome series targets those top-rated shoes. Now you can have a generic welcome message, converts well, and that's all well and good, but it's about iterating, right? How do we take that and make it even better? Well, we make it better by making it even more relevant. But if we really sit down and think about the customer journey and what matters to consumers at that particular point, we know we're going to be successful. You can see a couple examples from FigPin here. Not earth-shattering messages. They're not the most, wildly creative messages, but they convert for them. They speak to exactly the customer and the point they're at with the journey there. These are 22% conversion rate on these messages. They account for 3% of their total email revenue. They don't offer a discount in the welcome message, which is a really important point to make too. Sure, it's okay. Sure, customers will sign up looking for it, but it doesn't have to be. And now when we get these things, we can then iterate and say, how do we make it even better? So we can add SMS into the same workflow. And this is really where the evolution of email, SMS, push notifications, social media resyncing with customer lists, all these things come into play, is we can add SMS to the exact same automated workflow as we do email messaging. So we can say, hey, new user signs up here. Are they an SMS subscriber? If so, let's do this with them. If not, let's do this with them. And you can mix and match those channels that they opted into. Of course, if they opt into SMS, they want to hear from SMS. So you can set that up early. So you can see this example from Black Halo, right? Look right above the message. If you can read that, they talk about free ground shipping on domestic orders. So it's that value add again. Pretty straightforward message. They know you're going to shop. They're going to offer a discount and provide that call to action to shop now. And then they've got a SMS message reiterating the same thing there to those SMS opt-in customers as well. This series for them, 9% of their total email revenue, 0.2% of total sends. So you think about it, we're just adding little channels. We're customizing a little bit. Earning per message on their SMS is $7.50. So these are great numbers that we can do here. And you can see it doesn't take much. SMSs are easy to create. You only have 160 characters. You make it pretty simple, but you can absolutely maximize the revenue from these. So if we start simple, let it run in the background, get your data points, look at the data, and then say, okay, what can we add to here? We think we can add to the metrics we're getting: conversion rates, click rates, more clicks, more conversions. All right, so we want to focus there for it. Abandoned cart is another one where we are close to purchase. That customer has identified products, they put them in their cart and they've abandoned, maybe to get a discount, maybe they got distracted, maybe their internet failed like mine did right before I came on here to talk to you today. Right, we have these options here, but cart abandonment, it's simple. We put it out there, remind people of their cart, and then we get more advanced as we want to, and we add other messages or we add other call to actions things here. So 34% conversion rate, close to cash. They're right next to purchasing. Let's nail it. Let's give them a reason to purchase. But again, we want to ask with that customer journey, what matters to the consumer when they're abandoning the shopping cart, and who are they? Because this really is going to dictate your strategy here. So, if we ask those questions and say, okay, what matters to them? Well, it depends. It depends on what their cart total is, for instance. So let's say you have $35 free shipping threshold on your website. My shopping cart is $25. The guy next to me has a $200 shopping cart. Well, we have very different needs and decision points at this point, right? You're not going to send me a message if I have a $200 cart and say, hey, don't forget, we get free shipping over 35. I've crushed that free shipping threshold. What matters to me is probably things like satisfaction, guarantees, return policies, speed of shipping, product quality. I have different needs in that person with the $25 cart that might need a little incentive to get over 35 to hit that free shipping. And now they kind of get the best of both worlds. So that's just one instance where you can automatically just do a split in the workflow. Another one might be, who is the purchaser? Is the person who is abandoning the cart, have they never purchased before? Are they a one-time purchaser who's now debating a second purchase? And we know our lifetime value of that customer is going to go up at that point. We want to get them over the finish line. Are they a loyal customer and they purchased from you 5 times in the last 6 months, right? That's going to change maybe the discounts you offer. If you offer a discount, maybe using SMS with it as well. It might have whether you send 1, 2, or 3 messages or even 4 messages. So think about, again, what matters to the consumer at that particular point, and then what their history with you is, and then add SMS into the fold, just like we saw with the Black Halo example. So, if we look at, you can see on the right-hand side there, Inglaw, Canada, right? Cosmetics company, they've played around with push notifications and SMS and email all into their cart abandonment workflows, and they're finding success with them based on how they structure them. It's all about using the right channels at the right time to the right consumer. Toac chocolate, I think it's a really good example. Luxury chocolate, they're not going to discount. It's a pretty basic abandoned cart message. They get great metrics. And what they do is they added on a second message after the first one because of that. And now they're just seeing the recovery stack up and stack up and stack up. And that's what matters. It's about finding these small things, doing simple changes, and then watching it grow. But they're thinking about the customer journey at that point. And the last one I'm going to talk about today is product and browse abandonment messages. And these are really very similar messages. Users on your website, they're checking out either a specific product or a category of products. They don't cart an item, but then they leave. They're window shoppers, right? So browse is more category specific. Product abandonment is more, hey, they identified that specific product, left, and now we send We automate an email with that specific product in there. So very similar, and you can see the results almost right on par with one another. So this is an increasing tactic that e-commerce brands are doing. It's been growing the last couple of years. It's becoming more of a routine now. I love these because they're naturally relevant. They serve the purpose of promotional messages very well, but it's a message that's timely and relevant to them. Right message, right time, right consumer, right channel, which is the beauty of it. So if you're not doing product or browse abandonment yet, I'd encourage you to definitely explore it, look into it, test it out, because it can really augment and increase your sales here. Now, the beauty here is, again, we can do these for a lot of different things. You can set them up for high traffic items or high traffic categories, maybe seasonal sellers. You can really control what you want to do it for rather than just saying, okay, we're going to do it for every product on our website. So think about how you want to do that, how you want to convey the messaging, whether you offer a discount, whether you don't. And I always say, the question I used to get when I was working with e-commerce brands, helping them increase their programs, was, well, I don't want to annoy my customers. I don't want to send them too much. And my response would be, well, if you are sending relevant content, you're not going to annoy them. They're going to appreciate that. But then I would say, well, you're going to send to them anyways. And they'd sit there and they'd say, well, of course I will. And I'd say, well, is it ultra segmented or is it a batch and blast? And, chances are it might be slightly segmented or it's a batch and blast message. And I said, wouldn't you rather send them a very relevant and timely message versus a promotional message that is just generic and built for everyone? Because you're going to send to them anyways. And once you start to think about it in that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Carrots was on. I'm a host of the Card Insiders podcast. Sarah was my guest. The episode came out yesterday, which she breaks down everything with her cart and product abandonment messages. She tells you how she does it, why she does it, how to control how many messages you get. If you haven't given it a chance to listen yet, I'd encourage you to do so. Revenue per email of these messages are 630% better than their promotional messages, and these drive 14% of their automated revenue. So automated messages, right? And this is what's impactful for them. So if we look at these and we take these small pieces, SMS, cart abandonment, optimize welcome message number 2, whatever, and we put them all together, where does it leave us and what is the revenue potential at that point for increasing sales? So I'm going to look at Carrots again. So here's a quote from that podcast that came out yesterday. One-person marketing team. And that is really important here. It's automated messages, a one-person marketing team. She came on board and said, okay, yep, welcome messages. I know it's important. Let me go ahead and implement one of those. And she got it running and she got it updated. And then it was cart abandonment, and then it was product, and then it was post-purchase. And you can see the list of what she did. And then she was like, hey, you know what? Let me throw SMS in here, or let me do some splits in the workflow. So cart abandonment, right? Different thresholds, whatever it might be. And she just slowly started implementing and slowly taking the revenue and checking those metrics and figuring out how to optimize those messages a little bit further. Discount, no discount. She's driving 23% of their email revenue and 4% of their email sends, and everything is automated. And that is the beauty of it. We're generating cash on the backside. We're automating it. And we know that we have benchmarks and we can always look to iterate those things. So, again, legs feed the wolf. Everything is connected here. So you sign up for a program, you get a welcome message, you then browse, you abandon, you get a product abandonment message, you go back, you put something in the cart, you abandon, you get it, and then your post-purchase messaging kicks in, right? Which I didn't talk about today, one of my favorite topics, but then you start building out your post-purchase. So you're doing all these things to engage and build brand awareness that drives the purchase, and you're just recapturing sales from there. So ultimately, at the end of the day, use automation. It's your friend. It is essential in the modern day email environment. If you're just living by batch and blast every day, you're only going to go so far with your program. You're going to lose sales. So that money is being left on the table. Always think about, with whatever message you are sending, are they considering purchases at that point, or is it more goodwill? Birthday message is a great example there, right? High open rates, which won't be able to track at some point, lower conversion rates, I should say. They're just happy, right? It's their birthday. They might shop, they might not shop, but where can you get the bang for the buck? Well, cart abandonment converts better. Welcome message converts better. These things that are driving the purchase. So think about where they are in that customer journey. And I always say, and Sarah from Carrots, I mentioned one-person marketing team. You start simple, one message at a time. Automate it. You can add to it. You can iterate. You follow that customer journey. And by doing that, in 2 months, you'll be surprised at how much you can do and how much revenue you're increasing here. So Do all those things, start collecting mobile numbers down, figure out how that fits, let your audience tell you whether they're interested in SMS or not. Follow their lead, because they're going to be the ones that telling you what they want, what channels they want, and what messaging they want. And you can make messaging relevant, which is going to be the name of the game app, especially after iOS 15 rolls out, where open rates are going to be a thing of the past, and we're going to be focused solely on how to optimize clicks, how to optimize conversion. So if you have any questions for me, which I'm sure you probably do, here's my email address. Feel free to reach out. Tune into the Card Insiders podcast. The season's all about email marketing, but we cover a variety of topics as well. And if you have any questions right now, I am more than happy to take them from you.